All right, folks, we're about to start. Please silence your cell phones and devices so we can have a quiet meeting. If you do need to make a call, I insist you take it outside the building, please. So we will start in just a few seconds. Oh, thank you. All right, I've got 6 o'clock, so at 6 o'clock, I call this meeting of the Saginaw City Council to order. Please rise for the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. Item C is the invocation. I do not see Pastor Joe Rangel. Do I have a volunteer who is feeling so moved to do the invocation? It could be a staff member, a council member, or somebody from the audience. Anybody. If you're feeling so moved, don't all rush the stage at once. All right, well, I can do it. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here together. Thank you for this fantastic weather after a rough week last week. We appreciate making it through that. We thank you for this wonderful town that we are blessed to be part of. We're thrilled to be here, do our very best for this city. We thank you for our employees that work tirelessly for this city and the betterment of our city. We really appreciate that. Thank you all for our health and happiness. All these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
All right, audience participation, 1D. If you want to speak on any item on the agenda, please come on up. By the Chief of Police, we have forms to fill out. Anybody is welcome to speak on any item that is on the posted agenda. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. 2A, action regarding minutes of January 20th. 2E, action regarding approval of Weaver and Tidwell to perform next year physical audit. Questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion.
Valerie,
Mayor, I
please.
make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay.
Second it.
Paul, second. Please cast your votes.
Oh. I'm out in left field right
All right. Motion passes. Let the record reflect, we do have a quorum, full house. Thanks for coming, folks. Appreciate y'all making it out. 3 is the proclamations presentations. 3A, presentation on update of comprehensive action plan for safe streets. Pete Kelly, welcome, sir. Mayor?
Good evening, Council.
Mayor, if I could, sorry to interrupt. We had one kind of impromptu recognition from the Public Works Department, if I could squeeze that in.
Okay.
Jared Kersey.
Mayor and Council, today we received word of one of our Recreation Department employees receiving a certification, so we just wanted to publicly bring them up for a minute. That's Vicki Weldon with the Recreation Department. Please stand up. Today she received from the National Recreation and Park Association a Park and Recreational Professional Certification. So I'm going to have...
Congratulations, thank you. Are you going to tell us what that means? Please.
Certified Park and Recreational Professional is a CPRP. It's a 2-year certification. It covers 5 areas, but it helps me to do my job better. So I'm just very thankful that I work for a city that encourages and then allows and then provides this kind of ongoing training. And I will be continuing to keep that certification up, ongoing training, but it's definitely going to help in the 5 areas that I serve the city. So thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're very thrilled. Awesome. Vicki, forgive me, how long have you worked for the city?
I'm trying to remember, we started part-time at the senior center.
Okay,
So about 12 years.
okay. Well, congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right, safe streets. Pete.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Pete Kelly with Kimley Horn, sit in our Fort Worth office, and professional transportation engineer. So I'm the project manager with Kimley Horn for your safety action plan. I will go through the slides efficiently tonight, and I can go back if you have any questions on anything. But essentially, we kicked off this project in December with staff, and in that discussion, we wanted to come to you and tell you kind of what we're going to be doing throughout the project, how we're going to be engaging the public, and give you the chance to ask any questions, give us any feedback on how you'd like to see that done as we go through the process. So tonight, I'm going to talk about why we want to conduct a safety action plan, and then what is the safety action plan, what does that consist of, go over the project timeline, our method of public engagement, what to expect there, talk about our project website and pop-up event ideas with you for that. So first and foremost, why should you conduct a safety action plan? So at the top of the list here, a safety action plan does increase your opportunities for future grant funding for projects that improve safety, that could be projects that also improve safety and capacity and other issues you may be seeing. Safety action plan also makes travel in Saginaw safer. We look at crash data to target improvements that would reduce crashes throughout the city. And lastly, it's mostly funded federally, so there's only a 20% city match currently to fund this plan. As far as what the plan consists of, essentially it's going to be a document we develop at the end of the day that's going to identify specific countermeasures. That's just a $10 word for improvements that can be made to reduce crashes. And then also systemic countermeasure identification as well. Through the process, we'll work with staff, we'll work with you in terms of setting goals. We're forming a task force to help guide us, to help determine what intersections or roadways to look at in terms of our improvement recommendations, and also what kind of policy implementation we might recommend as well as part of the plan, as we plan for that to be a collaborative effort throughout the process. Just a quick timeline to show you where we're at now and where we expect to be in the safety action plan process. We do have a timeline that is agreed upon with the Federal Highway Administration, who's administering the grant, so this aligns with that schedule as well. But essentially, we're early on in the project. We've been gathering data and building maps of existing conditions, gathering crash data, looking at crash patterns in Saginaw right now. So we'll be moving forward shortly in identifying potential intersections and roadways to look at a little bit more in detail. But as far as our engagement goes, we plan to meet with the task force 4 times throughout the process, with the first meeting coming at the end of this month. And we hope to try to do a couple pop-up meetings where we go to events that you're already holding, where people are already going there, just to talk with them at those places, rather than trying to hold town halls and bring people to us. So, and then we hope to finalize and bring this back to you for adoption in the fall, for final adoption in October. Just a couple things on what you might want to look forward to expect for the public engagement. Mainly, this is going to consist of 2 online surveys. We're going to put out a survey to get feedback before we start making recommendations, and then a second survey on once we have a draft plan out to get people's feedback on the draft plan. So that is city officials and also the public getting feedback there. We'll also be putting up an interactive map that folks can go and place comments on. If they know of anywhere where there's a specific safety issue that they're concerned about, they can note that on the map to help focus our attention when we're making recommendations in the plan. So this is just an example of what that online map might look like, and it's just an online form-based survey where people can tell where they live, how they commute, what's their mode of choice, what concerns they have about roadway safety, et cetera. And these are just some examples of some of the pop-up events we've done in other communities where we've done safety action plans. A couple of the ideas we've discussed with staff are coming to one of the farmers market events, or the concert series where people already attend those things, and we'd set up a booth to have some interactive activities and visuals for people to look at, and take our survey as well from that. So with that, any questions you have, happy to go back to any previous slides or answer any questions you have.
Council questions for Pete? Mary, go ahead.
You mentioned a task force, and maybe I missed that at the beginning, but who would that be comprised of?
So
What?
we're still working on building that with mostly city officials, but people engaged in the community that would like to have input on safety. And I know Jared's been working on getting those folks on that, so if you had.
Yes, so we do have some commitments from the school district, and then we're actively looking for some citizens as well.
I'm hopeful we'll involve the Traffic Safety Board in that as well. That's an already ready-made group, a pool of folks that are interested, so. yeah. I'm sorry. Let's do your thing.
We typically involve representatives from emergency services as well, from police and fire, to make sure we're getting their input, make things safer.
I'm going to make an assumption the Traffic Safety Board is involved. Maybe the Mayor Pro Tem might want to be involved?
Yes.
Okay. Mark that down. We can have at least one council rep. I don't know how many we want, but I think Paul would be a great option.
Yep, that'd be great. Thank you. Any other questions?
Did you refresh my memory about the dollars involved? I know there's grants, but what is that? And how much, and how can we get, what are all the dollar, you didn't discuss that. So.
Yeah, that's a good question. So essentially, the grant is through the Safe Streets for All federal program, which requires a 20% city match. So of the program cost, which is $230,000, or the plan, excuse me, the city's matching 20% of that cost, and the FHWA is funding the rest of that. Okay. That is the planning grant award. The second phase, if there's any specific projects you'd like to pursue additional federal funding, that's the implementation grant through SS4A. There's also state grants that may be available that having the safety action plan in place could make you more competitive for those state grants as well.
That was my question about the implementation. Once we start moving dirt, there is opportunities for grants on that side of it as well.
Correct, yes.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So was this included in our budget for this year?
I believe it was approved after the budget October meeting, I believe. So we budgeted our 20% match is $46,000.
46,000, okay, should cover.
And I just want to reiterate what Pete mentioned. I think Trent has worked on some projects in the future that could be potential. We have to have the plan first before we can apply for matching funds for street projects, so it's a good deal.
Any other questions for Pete? Thanks, sir. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to hearing from you again.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, 3B, presentation of Government Financial Officers Association Distinguished Budget Award. Kim Quinn, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I am proud to say that once again, the City of Saginaw has received the Government Finance Officers Association Award for Distinguished Budget Presentation. This is the 39th year in a row that the city has received this award.
Will you explain this is what that means? Refresh our memory?
Sure, there's a whole set of standards that we have to meet in order to receive the award. It's reviewed by 3 reviewers. We don't know who they are, they're anonymous. Anywhere in the United States or Canada are primarily where the reviewers are. The budget has to be shown to be a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communication device. It takes a huge amount of work to get the budget done, from leadership, all the department heads, and lots of people in the departments. But actually putting the document together, by and large, is mostly through the efforts of Elizabeth Thorpe, our finance manager. And so I know, Mayor, you've got the presentation, so I'd like to have Elizabeth come up and accept the award on behalf of the city, because this is largely due to her work.
So you said the 39th year in a row?
Yes, sir. 39th year in a row.
So my math is not good, so that goes back to 1987?
80-something, yeah.
Wow.
Late 80s.
And how long have you been here, Kim?
13 years.
There you go.
Hey, not that long.
Pretty close.
All right, so you want to do photos? Anything else?
That's all. Just like I said, we're really proud of the award. It's, you know, I don't want y'all to take it for granted because we get it year after year. There's a lot of work, and there's lots of cities that don't even attempt to get the award because the hurdle is pretty high.
No, congratulations. This is a testament to our transparency, our thoroughness, Kim's whole department. But again, it predates Kim. We've been doing this for years. We've been very financially prudent for many, many years, so I'm proud of that. So, we want to take a picture? Picture?
All three of them.
Get the dirt. Get the dirt.
Three C, presentation of annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended September 2025. Kim Quinn, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is a big relief to have this done. This is also a big hurdle in our calendar every year. You have the actual hard copy of the financial report. After it's presented to y'all tonight, we will post it to our website, and that's part of our transparency stars that we do. And we've got our auditor here, Jennifer Ripka from Weaver, to go over some of the highlights and explain what the report means.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here tonight. My name's Jennifer Ripka, and I'm the partner on the engagement. I've been working on this engagement for several years. I've been with the firm for 20 years. It's hard to believe I've been doing this that long, but do a lot of cities and school districts across the state. So we'll go through the ACFR itself, and then I'll turn it over to you all for any questions that you have. So on page 3 of the ACFR is the first opinion with regards to the financial statements itself. It just states that we've issued an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that can be placed on a set of financial statements. So when you're looking at financial statements, this is really the best that you can get from an opinion standpoint. As you move way further down into the report, starting on page 145, that's the other set of opinions. And this is with regards to the federal financial assistance that the city receives. And so anytime that you all receive either state financial assistance or federal financial assistance, there is an additional audit that's required if you exceed the threshold. So you all did have expenditures in excess of $1 million, and so you did have a single audit with regards to that report. And for this one, it was the ARPA funding. So going back, receiving, CARES funding, ARPA was really the last of the COVID funding that was received from the federal government, and so about $3 million that you all receive and expended during the fiscal year. We also issued an unmodified opinion on compliance with regards to that funding, and so again, that's the best that you can get. As you move a little bit further into that report, there's kind of like a report card. That's what I'll call it, where it goes through that you all had no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses in internal controls, either over the financial statements or that federal funding. And so we do look at internal controls over the city as a whole, as well as just specific to the federal financial assistance that we tested. And so not every city receives or is required to get a single audit, so it takes it a step further in terms of looking at it from a compliance standpoint. And so you all had that this fiscal year. As you go out and get more grant funding, that ups, us being required to do that testing as well. So overall, it was a great audit. Of course, Kim, Elizabeth, they're wonderful to work with. We also talk to other people throughout the city as well, so utility billing, a lot of the other departments have to deal with the auditors as well. So similar to the budget, the audit spans a significant amount of time that is outside of their, day-to-day that they have to deal with us. So we do appreciate all the work that they do during the course of the audit to get this lovely document for you all to approve. But just again, to reiterate, when we do these audits, you're looking for an unmodified opinion, no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses. And so when, in terms of the stewardship of the management here with the dollars that you all receive, whether it be from a property standpoint, sales tax or federal funding, everything was in accordance to what we would expect. So I'll turn it over to you all for any questions that you have.
Council, questions? Brad, go ahead.
Just one, would you kind of explain what?
You tell us what page you're on.
150.
Yep.
Just generally, what would be an example of a material weakness?
Yeah, a material weakness would mean that we had a finding, primarily, typically it's a dollar threshold issue that's in excess of, we set materiality thresholds. And so it would be 2-3 times our materiality threshold, and we had to go to Kim and her team and say, you all missed this, or we had an issue. Fraud would be another one that would encompass a material weakness. If you had an internal control finding where it was hitting almost an entire transaction class, so like say cash disbursements, and there was a breakdown in that control environment, then that potentially would be a material weakness as well.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Jennifer? Questions, comments? Well, thank you for doing this. We appreciate this information. I just want to let folks know that this report will be on our website. So we strive for transparency. In fact, we've got some transparency stars from the state recently for our efforts. So this is on. If you have serious financial questions about the city and how we operate, this is the document to look at. This is sort of the Bible. I keep this at my desk. I refer to it. So please, folks, out there, I'm not talking to you guys. Anybody out there listening, please, if you want to know what the city's finances are.
We want you all to read it.
Yes, look at this document. It will be on the website. Happy to answer any questions. Well, not me. Kim is happy to answer any questions. But this is what proves to us that we are financially responsible with your money. So this is an independent assessment. We were not involved in this. I was not involved at all. So this is something Weaver and Tidwell does for us to prove that we are good stewards of taxpayer dollars. So that's really what it means.
Right. And the very back has 10 years of information. So it really shows the growth of the city as well. If you get that far.
All right. No other questions? Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving forward, we are on 3D, 2026 Work Plan Workshop. Gabe.
Mayor and Council, I don't have too much new to add other than a couple things. Since our workshop last meeting, I got an email from a council member who would like to add a project to review our strategic plan. So if you'll recall, some of y'all were here. We had a strategic plan created with the help of a consultant back in 2018 or 2019. It's about a 15-year plan, so we're about halfway through. Would be good to revisit that, check our progress, and see if some of the goals that were recognized at that time are still on target. I think it's good. I think it also probably plays in well with one of the other projects to update the economic development plan, which was last updated in either 2016 or 2017. Another idea was to have monthly updates at a council meeting, maybe the second council meeting. It's on camera. We can give updates, run through the projects. Each department can, report back. Some months there's activity, some months there's not. But with that, I think we have a good list. The next step would be to put it in resolution form and adopt that. And I'm excited, ready to get to work, so happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any other work plan related questions for Gabe? Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I know we talked about having monthly updates. Was there any thought to putting, some kind of time frame as far as goals, where we should be at certain points throughout the year for this work plan?
Yeah, I think that monthly progress reports with the camera, we can all report. that's probably the most.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we don't want to set like, by Q2 on this particular thing, we want to be at,
Yeah, Sean, you mean like per each individual work plan item,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Just some goals.
Some goal, yeah, we could do that
target.
at a project level. I mean, the reality is things change and we all change throughout the year, but I'm happy to do that, whatever the reporting the council desires.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be good to have,
Yeah.
at least some kind of eyeball shot of.
Like
Yeah.
kind of what to expect, yeah.
you know,
No, happy to.
Again, like you said, sometimes things change, and I have no problem with a date being pushed or not
Sure.
holding firm, but I want to have at least some kind of target.
Sure.
To each project. so
Yeah.
that we have-
Yeah, I think the example was like the personnel policy update. There was, hey, we need action by next quarter.
Right.
Happy to accommodate that, but a lot of these projects, the council or the public doesn't see behind the scenes. So
Sure.
that's a big ask. The policy is the simple part. We can go get canned policies, but the review, the implementation, discussion.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to whatever everyone wants.
And if something gets pushed out, when you do your update, you can just say, hey, this is where we're at with this. It's gonna get pushed out another month or two or whatever.
Right.
I did, I've told several of you this, but at one point there was a request to have like flowchart graphs, color-coded this at this date. I prepared this and sent it out, and the person that requested it never read it. So, if we do something like that, maybe at least humor me and read it, or
No,
post it on your refrigerator at home or something. But yeah, I'm happy to do whatever everyone's comfortable with. And
Well, I will promise you this much, no matter what you send me, I'll read.
sure, yeah, no, it's
He
good.
definitely wasn't talking to you, Nick.
So,
You know that. You know that.
so just while we're here, I'll run through the projects. And again, I think we have a really good list. The employee personnel manual update, which we had talked about in 25, we would bring that forward. And I think Melanie has already got some, through TML or somewhere, some standardized templates, so we have a starting base to work with. So we'll begin reviewing that here pretty soon. Pending your action in a few items, we anticipate preparation, informational awareness for a bond. So that would be a project from last year, but we were kind of in pause. Continued discussions of a Friends of the Park or another related nonprofit. This has been discussed with the Parks Board. We'll bring this up again, and maybe similar to the 501c3 with the animal shelter, there may be a similar entity created. We're going to finish up our design services review. There's a lot of misconception out there about how professional services are procured. We should have a presentation when Randy is at the stock show. I'm confident he's watching us while he's there right now. But Randy and Jared and a couple others will present that at our next meeting. Update and standardize our gateway, city limits, or welcome monument signs. I actually talked to David Flory on a kind of a random issue on Friday. His business does a lot of sign work, and they've done some really nice signs in the area, Lake Worth. If y'all see signage for other cities in the area, snap a picture. That'd be helpful to begin thinking about. The goal is to have kind of a standard template and then figure out locations, perimeter of the city, where we might install those. I mentioned this earlier, update our economic development plan, which I believe was last adopted in 2016, so it's been some amount of time. Review a street maintenance fee, which our neighbors in Fort Worth discussed that this past year, and I think are in the process of implementing a specific fee. Update and review our facility deposit, rental fees, and recreation program offerings. Hotel recruitment, hotel market study. Tree assessment, which would include potentially offering homeowners or HOAs an incentive to remove or replant trees that might damage pavement, which I wholeheartedly agree is something we need to look at. A plan for the reuse or renovation of the depot building. And then the last one would be review of our strategic plan. So again, I think that's a good list. We'll bring a resolution here at our next meeting, and happy to get to it.
Any questions for Gabe? Oh, Sean,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The, last time we had mentioned the cybersecurity audit.
Yep, thanks for, no, you're right. Yep, I will. We did talk about that, and I think Greg has already talked to, had real high-level discussions with one of our vendors that does, but yeah, I think that's time, and that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think, I remember seeing somewhere in the iWorks that they might do that too.
It's
so-
part of their scope, yeah. I think it is within the scope, and we may just have an update or
Yeah,
some control test or something.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, just whenever the resolution comes, we can set some dates. that would-
Sure, yeah, anticipated quarters, that's doable.
Any other questions for Gabe?
You bring it back the next meeting? is it?
Yeah, I think next meeting, yeah.
All right, thanks, sir.
Sir.
Appreciate it. That was 3D. So 3E, discussion regarding hiring policy for staff. Sean, what's on your mind?
So, I have just a couple questions regarding our hiring policy. Whenever I first had our meeting with Melanie and Gabe, I had asked, about how we hire people. Do we post positions? And it was told to me that we post almost every position, which, I'm not saying, we probably do. I can't imagine that we wouldn't, but there has been some positions that have been created. And I know that sometimes there's an instance where that might be necessary. And I know that that is fully within your purview to have ultimate hiring and firing decision. So my question is, do we have a policy that says that we need to interview so many candidates? Do we have to post positions? And if we don't have that policy, might it be beneficial for the city to have that policy for fiscal purposes, for talent purposes, to make sure that we're getting the best talent and at the best price?
Sure. So our policy is, there's really 3 ways we can fill a vacancy. Very simple. It's for the city of Saginaw or any private business or large corporation. You can do an external recruitment, you can do an internal recruitment, or you can just do a placement, appoint someone to a position. This has been common in every city I've worked for and probably common in many of the organizations y'all have worked for. So my preference is to allow the hiring manager to decide who they want to pick. Whenever I was coming up and a manager and a director, I didn't want people, interfering in day-to-day operations or managers having onerous requirements. So I think that's worked really well. The reality is, although we're one organization, one city, the hiring is much different depending on department. There's different needs, there's different qualifications. You're all aware, my preference when we can is to promote from within, which we do. We've had our new building official was a recent promotion, and that wasn't an open process. He was supervisor. Doug decided that he was it. We didn't do an external recruitment. There was no one internally. So, I think that's the most efficient and practical way to conduct business. I think it reflects the capability of our hiring managers, which is our departments. And my general stance would be, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, if we were in like a civil service type city, you would have some of these requirements that you have mentioned, like you do like an eligibility test or something, do X amount of interviews or that sort of thing. Becomes onerous. I think it takes away from the department that's trying to fill a vacancy. So
I think sort of what you mean is like, for example, a replacement for someone in police and fire is different than at the library.
absolutely, yeah.
They have interview processes and standards, and it's a different position. So I think it's sort of what we're referring to. Maybe, and I'm speaking for, or just asking Sean, maybe your question is, do we have a written policy? Is that really part of your question? Or what is in our
I mean, I have no problem with a manager. In fact, I would prefer that the hiring manager make the selection.
Sure.
And obviously, you would have ultimate say to veto that or not, or, if you're.
I don't
leadership
interfere.
styles- Right, yeah.
If it's my position,
Yeah, I feel
I'll
like
fill
you're-
it.
Yeah,
but
exactly. And I don't have a problem with that, but, there may be somebody out there that we might have an idea of who we want for that position, but it might be good to look at other options.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that if there's somebody that's great, it's also gonna help that person kind of perform well at an interview, and it's good for growth, personal growth, professional growth. You know, it's not to say that we can't pick who we want.
Sure.
Right? I'd still want to have that process, but I want to be able to have options, because there might be somebody out there that just blows us away, right? As managers, and we didn't even know that was possible. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And to be respectful, I would say there's no us, it's one person that's a hiring manager, and I respect their decision and how they want to conduct a search. It's really that simple. Now, to address your concerns about, you know, hey, there might be somebody we don't know about, one thing we do about annually is we have a career development form. We ask employees to write down what their, you know, ultimate career goal is. So if somebody's happy with their job, that's great. We want to keep them happy and hope that they stay with us. If they have a desire to promote, you really need to tell your supervisor about that, or maybe at least have a conversation to talk about, hey, what does the future look like? Lots of good examples of folks who start off in, you know, one position or one department and transition on. Randy Polk, I think our longest tenured firefighter, started off in the Public Works Department, became interested in fire, made that transition. All of our building inspectors were in Public Works once upon a time, and then became trained. So we want that to happen to the extent that we can.
I mean, for the council, it's been our stated goal to promote from within where possible.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
possible, not always necessarily, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that helps with our morale,
Yeah.
with opportunities. I'm looking around the room at folks, and I'm seeing people that I know came up through the ranks.
Yeah.
And I won't single anybody out, but Jared Kersey definitely came up through the ranks and started here when you were very young, if I recall. So, and is now in a senior leadership position. So that's what we want in Saginaw. I asked Gabe a lot, Gabe and Lee, are we building our bench? If any one of our directors, our department heads walked out of the door today, do we have a staff, somebody in-house? If not, we can go find somebody, but do we have a potential in-house? I think that's important to build our bench. And it's important for morale. Folks come in and say, hey, I've got an opportunity for growth in the city of Saginaw. We're a big enough organization now, which that really is a good expectation for somebody to have coming in.
Yeah.
We can't always compete with some of the big cities financially, but we can with our culture, our growth, our potential, things like that. So that's one thing we try to leverage against all the other cities that are competing for our talent.
And we've had some good, and again, it just depends kind of case by case, but there's been some good external hires. Ronnie in Public Works came from, was he Grand Prairie? Yeah, and had a lot of experience. At that time, there wasn't anyone to step up and be utility superintendent. Yeah, Paul Rosinski had 30-some years in Euless, so, you know, it depends on the position, and I think really what helps us, and especially recently with several folks, is there's some connection. Either someone lives in town, so one of our newest customer service folks up front lives like 2 streets away, and it's a quick commute. She enjoys being here. Jay in Public Works, I believe, lives in town. So somebody has a tie. They went to school here, or, yeah, so.
It also helps with retention. I mean, if you know there's room for growth, you're gonna stick around.
Yeah.
If there's not, they're gonna go somewhere else. And it's hard finding good people. And if we already got them, let's keep them.
Yeah. Yep.
I forgot to mention my favorite city secretary as well. So it's definitely a
Yeah, I think-
homegrown talent.
Vicky, you were, how old?
Public Works, actually.
In Public Works, yeah.
Okay.
And then promoted within 4 months to a full-time position for a court clerk position, and did that for several years, and then promoted to court administrator, and kind of progressed from there on.
Awesome.
I hope Janice wasn't listening.
See, my former.
We've all had the same story. She started off with all like that too.
Right, that's very true.
Well, and I definitely think that that's a benefit, for sure. If it's council's pleasure to have that policy, if not, then that's fine. But I would like to see, because then at least we know that we've looked at candidates, we've looked at multiple options, and that way if somebody asks a question, we can say, hey, we interviewed 3 people, we picked the best one, and we kind of cover our backs that way. But
I understand where you're coming from, and I understand, but the reality is I trust our hiring managers, and sometimes, and 3 I know is just a arbitrary number. Sometimes we might not have 3 applicants for a position, especially if it's tough to fill. So to have some sort of requirements that we have to do X, Y, or Z, to me, it's unnecessary. So that's my opinion.
You mentioned, covering our back, that means legal, Bran. That means legal. And I don't think there's a legal concern with hiring from within or interviewing folks. And I know what is that? What does that mean legally?
Yeah, there really aren't any legal prescribed rules on how you select a candidate. I have a copy of the city's hiring policies, and it says you can hire from within or you can advertise out. It currently gives the city manager discretion to decide which avenue is most effective. But there are no state law constraints on how the hiring process goes. Obviously, you can't hire based on a discriminatory basis.
Sure.
But other than that, there really aren't any procedures that are dictated.
Okay. Thank you, Bran.
I think ultimately, it wasn't for legal. It's more like, you talk about you trust your hiring manager, that your hiring manager reports to you or to their boss, and then you report to us, and we report to the citizens.
Sure.
So if the citizens have a question and we say, well, we don't know how that person got in a position, it's kind of hard. At least we have something to say. Well,
Yeah, you should have that person contact me.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to, because I'm responsible for the staff, and I
Sure.
would more than likely direct them to the hiring manager.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, Mary, go ahead.
And say we have a very small department, you may not have had an opportunity to let somebody, move up. But in that case, if you didn't have somebody ready to move up, I think Texas Town and City Publication advertises openings, and these are all people that probably work for cities
Right.
already. And,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a unique animal working for a city.
Sure.
So that's a good, obvious place to look if you don't have someone from within, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you are aware of that.
Right. We advertise on our website. We advertise on Texas Municipal League. Like they have like a job board. So all the standard things. And it's position by position. So some positions we get a pretty strong pool. I think we have a rec center attendant that, when we have 40 applications or something? 55? Yeah, so that's, for a part-time position, that's a good strong pool. I don't believe we don't have any internal. You contrast that with we've kind of been struggling for a few months for a automotive mechanic. And I think we've got maybe a handful. 3? Yeah. So it depends on the position and, whatever the job market is, so.
Excellent. Any other questions for Gabe?
Well,
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, take all of this in and stuff. So, to me, we do have a policy. I haven't read it, so can somebody send it to all the council? So at least we have it.
Sure.
Then council, you can read it or not. I'll read it if you send it.
Well, don't read it too closely because we're planning on changing it soon.
That's
so
right, yeah.
Update it.
But, I don't know exactly if there's a concern or just a question.
Yeah.
But, anytime you talk about hiring, the one thing you want to make sure that somebody somewhere don't have their thumb on the scale. So I'm very happy to hear that we let the managers at the lowest possible level, of course, pick the people in that department for it, that the mayor isn't coming in and saying, okay, here's your new person, and oh, here's John, by the way, okay? So that's very good to hear that, and, because, that does happen.
Yeah.
And, then the second thing is just going through the policy itself and we do it, and kind of the way we do it here, from what I hear, seems like if not at all, I would consider almost a best practice. And I'll give somebody, throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to hire and interview many, many different plethora of people and things. And I can say that I've worked with some companies which required you to send every single position out. And I can tell you exactly what happens. The managers, I've done it myself in this company, we will write the notice going out to exactly match the person we want to hire, okay? Then we'll weed them out as much as we can, so we don't even have to interview them. So then we'll get down to, let's say there's 3 of them that we just can't weed out. They're just too good. And then we will proceed to have that interview, knowing good and well, no matter what they do, at the end, person A, the one that we wanted to begin with. So we done wasted the company's time, and more importantly, we wasted the individual, and they'll never know it, okay? Because when they get the Dear John letter back, it's going to be written very vague and, and written that way. But it's due to policy. So on the theory that it's really good, because we're going to go out there and we're going to get the best possible candidates. In reality, what it does is this person who you had working for you or in your organization that was already very qualified, even when they get the position, I can tell you, it will put a bad taste in their mouth. You have tainted that employee, okay? And I understand the one path that we're going to go ahead, we're going to make absolutely sure we get the best person. But you've already got the best person. The hiring manager knows that. On those cases, you really need to move it along on those. So I really, really caution us to really think about before we'd say that every single position has to go out and there has to be a interview process. Because I guarantee you, we're all humans. If I'm the hiring, I'm going to take it because I've done it. We will figure out ways around it to get that person that we want. Okay. Second off is, I know that there's companies out there, and I think there's even cities out there that won't hire from within. Get to a certain level, absolutely will not. And what ends up happening is people who's on a trajectory to growth, they know that. And what you end up doing, you start losing. And what you actually end up being, which is great for cities like us, is they get to build these people up, and then we get to bring them in. Okay? Yeah. And so that we got to be very careful about that too. Yeah. And then the last one is the, hiring, if you don't have somebody capable and you're hiring from within, again, it should be up to, as long as we have standard practices, and like we said, as to send it out of what we want. It should be the hiring manager, like you said, that pulls together and his group decides who's the absolute best candidate for that. And within other exceptions, that's really the way it should work.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, Nick. I know you've got a lot of experience, and I appreciate your insight. One thing I want to remind folks, and I just thought about this, let's remember that our city charter says all employees report to Gabe, the city manager. Gabe reports to the council. Only a few positions report to council, city engineer, those kind of things, and the city manager. And everybody else reports to the city manager on down the chain. So let's keep that in mind.
City secretary.
City secretary, you're right. So let's keep that in mind, that we're not to get involved with individual hiring and firing. I'm not going to tell Russell Ragsdale who to hire or who not to hire in his police department. That'd be a terrible idea. And I don't want anybody else doing that as well. So let's keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Per the city charter, that is our role. So that's Gabe's role, that's Lee's role, that's how it works. So please remember that. All things fall back to the charter, and we don't talk about that enough. So that's my soapbox. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Gabe. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. 4, we're on 4. 4A, consideration action regarding ordinance 2026-3, calling a bond election to be held May 2nd. And that says May 2nd, 2026, so that's a typo there. We're not calling a retroactive bond election. It says Gabe, but I'm going to kick it off. Unless you've got something.
No,
I'm going to kick it off. All right, so we discussed this a lot, and I just want to sort of roll back to our last meeting and see where we left it. We left the 3 areas we discussed. One was streets, and I think we came to a pretty good consensus that it's going to be East McElroy and Industrial for $37 million? $38 million, okay. And I think we're good with those 2 on the bond election. I think everybody's good with that. We said that last time, so thumbs up there. We're not going to discuss that anymore. 2 was parks. We sent Councilmember St. Clair off with some action items, which he has completed about the parks and with the park sports. I want to turn it over to Brack to talk about that.
So we had a special called meeting of the Parks Board last night, and in which they reviewed some of the top concerns for the city per the Master Parks Plan, and then some action items that they had from what they had accomplished with the 4 million that we did in 2021, moving forward to what would be the priority to look at. And they actually had a statement prepared, and since there's no Parks Board member here, I'm going to go ahead and read it off, make sure I get my right list. But they actually issued a statement that they wanted to give to the council. And it is the advisement of the Parks Board that the city prioritize improvements at the following parks: William Houston, Willow Creek North, Highland Station, and Sagewood, with the emphasis on bringing aging playground equipment up to safety standards, adding pickleball and multi-use court offerings, and trail connectivity. So I know that some on council had wanted kind of a direct list of what would we be getting for this, and I encourage them to be general enough that we wouldn't be locked into, if we experience savings on a certain project, we wouldn't be locked into not being able to go and do more with that money.
We could probably write up the similar how we did last time on the parks bond election. I don't recall the wording to that, but I would assume our bond council can steal from that wording or keep it, as you said, open enough to have some flexibility there. Is that a good statement, Brent? Is that a reasonable statement, or are you going to defer to bond council?
Yeah, that's reasonable. That's good.
Okay. We will defer to, all this stuff is not finalized until bond council approves it.
I can say this much, I can get behind the parks thing with what your recommendation is.
Okay.
If that gets tied into the actual thing today.
Yeah, remember, it's all coming out of the park, the master plan.
Yeah,
We
but,
did
yeah,
this master
there's a
plan.
lot more in that master plan than that.
There is, right.
I like that.
But all the
yes.
stuff that he talked about is in here. So
Yeah.
It is in here, that's what we're pulling from, that's why we did this several years ago.
So did they give you a total?
Well, they were working off of the 6 million. Their general feeling is that they could use all they can get.
Right.
And if council is comfortable with 6 million, then they feel like all of that can be accomplished, addressing. So we only have 3 playgrounds left in the entire city that haven't been updated. And those are Sagewood, the Willow Creek North by the softball field, and and William Houston. The one down by the dog park is going to be taken care, it hadn't been done yet, but it's going to be taken care of with the 2021 bond. And we got a playground assessment that had a lot of safety concerns about some of the equipment, and this would address every bit of that. So we would be up to speed on that. We'd have updated with the surfacing, with the screening overhead. So there's a lot of things that can happen with this. 6 million sounds like just an absolute ton of money, but when you start picking apart what projects to do, it doesn't leave enough money to do a big project and all these other things. And they started putting a higher priority on taking care of the safety concerns and making sure that we're getting more connected to the parks. We're providing ways for people to get to the parks easier, that when they're there, they're able to be safe and enjoy the experience. And that's with the pickleball and the replacement of playgrounds. So.
So 6 million. Parks, 6 million. Last time it was 4, this time it's 6.
Oh, we got a
Yeah,
question.
I just had a question. The Opal Joe Jennings and Brian Schwingler, each one of those, how much about were those to be completed?
You recall,
I know it was close to. like a
Kim's
million.
got it, I'm sure she does.
yeah, Opal Joe might have been
One?
300,000 or 400,000. Schwingler was a little more because it had a court,
Right.
ball court. Do y'all
I think it
recall?
was 1 point.
I think they were around 390.
Yeah.
1.4.
Schwingler was more because there was a ball court.
Yeah,
And-
I know that it had like a, the soil compaction.
There were drainage issues there too,
Yeah,
right?
it
Yeah,
failed
yeah.
a soil test, so they had to amend it. And
Right. We're gonna have drainage issues at a lot of our parks,
Yeah.
And
unfortunately.
I believe
that's- yeah.
when
Yeah.
Kinley Horn presented it and everything, it was like 500,000 for each, and the bids came in a lot
The-
less, so we were able to do a lot more.
Right.
The challenging part about adding up the cost of those parks is that we did it kind of a unique way where Public Works purchased through buy board the playground equipment separately. So the actual bids that we brought forward were just the contractors to do the work for the site and civil and drainage, sidewalk, stuff like that. So that's why it's two pieces of information we'll need to get you that number.
I was just curious because I'm thinking, you know, there's those 3 parks, but the William Houston one, it's not just that, it's the land there that's gonna need improvement. So it's considerable amount more.
Another thing that was mentioned, and I kind of forgot to bring this up, but when they were talking about the playground improvements, they were also talking about the restrooms where appropriate. So like Sagewood wouldn't require a restroom, but William Houston would, and Willow Creek North probably would. So they were kind of considering that in the number, which kind of drives the cost up a little bit because you've got restrooms, gazebos, things of that nature. So they weren't just talking about only the playground equipment and that's it. They were kind of broadening the scope a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Mary, go ahead.
And also, if this passes, I'm sure we'll be having some town hall meetings to get input from the Saginaw residents, what they're interested in.
They specifically mentioned last night that the town hall meetings that we had for Opal Joe and for Brian Schwingler were very helpful in deciding kind of the theme and the colors and all of that. They definitely want to make sure that there's community involvement in picking some of that stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is it's not meant today to design it and solve it. It's to point in a direction and allocate the funds, or not even allocate the funds. All we're doing
Take it to the
is
voters.
asking the citizens.
Asking the
if that's what
voters
they
to
want. Now,
help us.
even after this, every single one of these, every time a project comes up, it's going to have to come back before us to actually have the funding allocated to it and things like that. So,
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure for public visibility that,
Yeah.
you know, you think, if you're only listing 3 parks, I can see us getting questions about that.
Yeah.
And being like, well, 6 million, that's 2 million per park, but it's not just that. There's a whole lot more that has to be
That's
done.
right.
Yes.
And we're talking about, you know, prioritizing, connecting them and safety improvements and restrooms. I mean, my kids are really excited about Brian Schwingler opening up because we live right down the street, but that was one of the things that we talked about. And I think you had said that, you know, the consensus was they didn't need restrooms there. And it's a shame because I live right down the road, but man, it seems like we get there and then they're like, hey, we have to pee. I'm like,
Well, as some parents say, it's their way to tell the kids they got to go home.
Yeah.
They got to go to the bathroom, they got to go home.
yeah, a couple of those little what I call little neighborhood parks.
Pocket
Actually,
parks, yeah.
Yeah, I went there and talked to citizens as they came, and I asked them, what do y'all think about putting a bathroom here? And they said, oh, no, this, I use this.
That's funny.
And Jared can probably attest to this. I mean, we end up with a lot of vandalism and issues when we do have the bathrooms, and it's a place for people to hide and do things, so.
It's unfortunate.
It is. But I think it's a good baseline that you got there.
And one of the things, Brack, you mentioned about was potentially updating the Parks and Rec master plan. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so we, as a part of the previous bond package, we included creating the master plan and getting that in place. It's been in place. We've done some things. We've varied from it a little bit in some of the projects. So what I would like us to do, if this bond passes, is recommend to do a refresh on the Parks Master Plan. Just bring it back up to incorporate the things that have been accomplished with it that are no longer necessary to have on our 5-year projection, and then just do a general refresh, which won't cost near as much, but it will also keep us eligible for grant funding and just kind of keeps all the wheels in motion.
Refresh it, sure.
And
A
talk
lot-
about that before we move on. I've heard a lot of these other cities who's building just phenomenal parks, and they're getting like a ton of it approved through different types of grants. I'm not a grant guy, that's not my wheelhouse, I don't, but I do, like I say, I heard Haltom City did one, Orchard Hills did one, and they're like, they're doing things way better, and it's, somehow they're getting these grants. And I wanna make sure, even though this ain't my wheels, I wanna make sure that the Saginaw residents are getting more than their fair share of these grants. So whatever it takes, however we
So-
have to do that, whoever the expert is, we need to go after that.
I've become the expert over the last 2 weeks. So I think Paul brought this up at the last meeting. I started with about 20 grants, and I've whittled it down to about 7. And I'm going to sit down with Jared and Randy next week or so, and then the ones that they like, I have all the examples, the funding amounts, and the cycle they run on. We're going to set calendar reminders to apply for every single one of those grants every cycle. So
Okay.
we're moving in the right direction for that.
I agree, because we've not done a good job of going after Parks and Recs grants in the last few years. We need to do better, absolutely.
But a lot of those grants, they have limits and they have matching elements. So some of the stories I've heard about what Haltom City got or what other cities got, I went and fact checked, and they did not get as much as we heard. So like the maximum for a lot of those grants is $750,000, when the Haltom City Pond costs $4 million. So they didn't get $4 million, but they did get some matching grant.
Isn't that part of the reason we did the Parks Master Plan too, was right, you need a master plan to be.
You have to have that in place in order to take advantage of the
That's
grants.
part of the reason why we did that. Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going back and summarizing. So I'm thinking Proposition A is gonna be streets for 38 million, Proposition B is gonna be parks for 6 million, with the detail provided by staff and the bond council. Everybody okay with those two? A and B. Okay. C is the one that we'll discuss a little more tonight. So C would be an animal shelter. We discussed a few things last week, well, we discussed a lot, of things last meeting, about how much and what. We polled council, and I know we have some results from that. I know folks have had time to think about it and quell on what potentially for an animal shelter, what we could do. Any discussion, questions, concerns, or even thoughts about animal shelter and going forward and dollars? And I'll start with the Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm still at 15 million.
Okay. Is there any more information you need? You good with what we
No,
have today?
the only thing to it, I mean, they've already got their 501c. If they can generate other funds and put more into it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would support that. But from a city taxpayer standpoint, 15 million would be.
So that means 15 all in, right? Okay, excellent. And that does not include the land?
Correct.
Okay, just to make sure we're clear on that, what we're talking, so. Mr. Lawson?
So, let me ask one question, I guess. 15 million would get us to, what do you call, option C? Is that what it is, or option 3? It's the,
Yes, the needs assessment placed the option C at about 10,000, a little under 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Option 3, I mean, and a 2027 total project cost at $14,573,000.
okay, so that's what we're talking, so that's when we say 15 million, that's kind of where we're shooting at.
Right.
So, okay, I'll do that with a couple exceptions. I don't know why the land wouldn't be included, because that's what you said, that C has the land included in it, right?
No, that's
14 something, when you gave those 3 options last time, unless I'm confused, I thought it included the land.
We gave so if you still have that page I gave you, it shows the total project cost in 27 is 14,573,550, and then she has a separate thing over there.
Okay, so quickly give me the out-the-door tax title license, it's mine, I'm moving in, and I got dogs and cats and business.
Including the land.
Everything, yep.
That would be, make sure math in my head is all should be. I'll add that real quick.
But I don't know if we want to do that, because we talked about doing the land separately on a CO.
Okay.
So that would be
No, I'm
apart from the bond.
Okay. Well,
I just don't want to make sure we conflate too many things together. So that's what we talked about last time, unless the council had a change of heart
Okay.
about getting the land independently of the bond.
To answer your question, it's 15 million
because the land, we wanted to do the CO, because if we wait, it's not gonna be there.
Right.
Okay.
So
Not
Nick-
personal. We could buy the land today. Okay, get it, it's ours.
Yes.
We could go for this bond. If we get the bond, we can take the money and then pay off that. We could if we want to, or we could not. It could be done. So anyway, with that being said, I can get behind the 15 million with what Paul said,
Okay.
with another stipulation.
What's that?
When we go with this option C, we're basically taking all of the storage out of that animal shelter. So I think that we have to build them back like a barn. So in that 15 million, with what they said, I'd like somehow to tie a barn, like a, I don't know, you tell me the size. I think we was talking about a 20 by 30?
Yeah, I think there's an unair-conditioned
Yeah, a
metal
barn.
building that would seal up to the elements and rodents and whatnot. Could
Yeah, I'm
be
not-
cheaply built within the project cost.
Something I'd fit my horse in.
You said within the
Not a
project
barn
costs.
Yeah, I think we can do that. You know, the thing to keep in mind is when you saw those three options,
Yeah.
each, option 2 and 3, which as they progressively got lower in cost, just cut out square footage.
Yeah.
Some of those features were identified in those square footage cuts. Others were just storage room. Others were just reducing the size of other rooms in the facility.
Right.
So I think there is a lot to be, I think if you just set the amount at 15 million and we move quickly with it and the bond passes and everything, I think there's a probability that could be rearranged again in an actual architectural plan. Again, remember, we don't have an actual architectural plan. These are just conceptual floor plans to base an estimate on at this point. So I think in an architectural plan, you could recover some of that storage room or with an outbuilding that would be better than a shipping crate, which is what we have now. And it still be a win-win situation with the overall cost of the project.
Well, it could be attached, just not climate controlled and everything.
Absolutely, it could be attached. We looked at it, I mean, I've looked at a couple of things and discussed it with Quorum. You could expand the size of the Sally Port essentially as an unair-conditioned pseudo-storage facility that you could drive through. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do that, and we certainly have the land area available to make a couple of options there.
Yeah, because I mean, grant you, there's more things say what's wrong with our wore-out animal shelter than what's right. But when you go in there, they got things stacked everywhere. And what I don't want to do, what I want to make sure that as we take all of this space out, that we still can create a place for them to store stuff. And it doesn't have to be air conditioned, like I said. I'm talking about a barnuminium. I'm talking about a barn you'd see out in a farm.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible, and we can find some other cost savings within the design to make that happen if it hits threshold.
And if we move quickly, we can probably get some additional savings.
Yeah, I mean, that 2027 cost it has a lot of escalation added into it.
Cool.
Thank you, Nick. Valerie?
15 million?
You okay with 15? Okay. Any questions or comments?
No, I think they can make a nice one for 15 million.
Excellent. Before we go too far, I don't want to miss, we have somebody who wants to speak on this. Dan, you want to come now? Mr. Dan Didford. I don't want to leave you out before we got too far along the discussion, so.
Until now, I didn't know what was all going to be on 2603. It wasn't clearly stated. And don't worry, it's multiple pages, but just my notes. I'm Dan Didforth, grew up here in Saginaw. I live at 240 North Hampshire Street. Other than you and me, are we the only ones been here our whole lives?
Bradley's been here forever.
I've been here for
Yeah,
longer
you-
now.
I marched with you to keep that place out. So anyway, it's my first time coming up here. I speak with some of you on a regular basis. Sean, we're pretty much just on Facebook stuff. We're working on the trash thing. I don't agree with what they want to bring, but I've got some great options. And I've talked to you guys on some other options too. Sorry I haven't talked to y'all, but we just haven't met. Anyway, I'm an advocate of the animal control shelter. They do need a new place. However, I'm coming to you as a person that voted down the last one. We had zero information. We didn't know it was coming. It was on the ballot. And I was like, I don't know what that is. No. Same thing happened to the big gymnasium the school district wanted to build. No information, large number on a ballot. The only thing failed. They needed it. It was going to be a big, anyway. I went down a rabbit hole trying to figure this thing out. I wanted to get educated, get some information, tried a rabbit hole. I came to this meeting when they were supposed to present and tell us what they wanted to do through the architect. She didn't show up, wasn't able to, illness in the family, fine. I got to hear a really good thing from him about McElroy Boulevard. I do believe, phase one, yes, please concrete that thing. I sat there and watched truck drivers almost lose trailers in a ditch. I mean, if we're gonna have cars next to semis taking a wreck, we gotta fix that road. Which, I'm actually talking about that one too. I do agree. So I wanna get to the bottom of my rabbit hole. I thought, well, maybe I'll get a hold of the Animal Shelter Advising Committee and talk to them, go to some of their meetings. I don't know if you know it, but on record, this may not be true, but on record, on the city website, you're listening to a committee that only had 2 meetings in 2024 and only 1 meeting in 2025. And in none of those meetings in 25, the 1 meeting, did they talk about the animal shelter. There's no minutes in their meetings. They're bringing you information. You're making your decision on this. There's nothing for us to go find as a citizen to show that due diligence has been done. I'm a professional, a safety officer. Everything has to be done by a standard. Everything has to be traceable. If an accident occurs, we take it back to the root cause and we fix it all the way back up to the top. Under a very basic root cause analysis, I can't find information on this dog shelter, animal shelter. I don't know. I agree with 10,000 square feet. I've done some of my own numbers for what we have, 10,000 square feet, fully built out at $500 a square foot. It's not 15 million. I'm not getting that number. And there's a lot more citizens that if this goes to bond and the information's not out there, if you can prove to us somehow, let us know what this is, where it's going, and what it looks like. I met somebody that talked at the last one where they were supposed to show up, told me a bunch of stuff in the parking lot. I cannot find, was he correct or was he not? I can't find that information. How did he get it? Are they buying this land over by railroad tracks that the dogs are going to be making people mad when they bark? I don't know. Where's the land? Where's the property we want to buy? So as an advocate, I'm just letting you guys know if y'all could bring us more information. Social media is great, but people that vote on items, they have a pocketbook, they have a job, and they don't have time to sit on Facebook. Luckily enough, I kind of get a hint that something's happening, and Sean drives me to the place where I can really talk about it. But there's nothing out there about this other than the fact it's coming and it's a big bill. And the big bill hit last time, it failed. No one knew what was coming. So that's what I'm bringing to you today. If y'all could do that, please. I believe everything else should. Nobody else is going to have any problems with McElroy. We need it fixed. But I have a fear that it's not going to go through unless we have a really good understanding of what's going on. All right. Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, Lee, go ahead.
let me just give Mr. Ditforth, we've spoken over the phone. I've met him, I think, once. I'll be glad to sit down with him and any other citizen and discuss the whole issue with him and give him any details we have. I'm actually just now, as of today, in possession of the final needs assessment of quorum that was written up. There was a minor little error in it that I'm going to ask be corrected, and then we'll have the actual final product to disseminate to anybody that needs it. But I'll be glad to give you, Mr. Ditforth, any information that we've got. And just for the record, the Animal Shelter Advisory Board has met quarterly, consistently since I've been here. And I think last year we had 5 or 6 meetings. Yeah, 5 meetings, at least in 2025, because we were kind of assigned some additional duties that were not within the traditional scope of the board, but they were glad to do that and met 5 times. But the animal shelter project itself has only come up to the board one time, and that was this year in the last meeting that we had. So we have another meeting coming up. Be glad to put that out as well, too.
No. Can we start, all our other meetings now, we're videoing, conferencing and everything. Can we start doing that with the animals?
Yeah, there's been a conflict on the scheduling of this room on their traditional night that they were scheduled, but in the next meeting, we're going to start holding them here.
Can we do them at the library as well? I mean, we spent a lot of money on technology over there.
Yeah, we could.
And you could do it at Fire Station 1 if you needed to. They got that big meeting
Got that
room
big
there.
conference room.
Right.
Well, and one thing to remember, this was not originally discussed in detail at the Animal Shelter Advisory Board. It was discussed at the Bond Committee in 2025. They had 3 or 4 meetings they're on the web. They were recorded on the web, and that group met, I guess, 3 times. Was it more than 3 or 4?
Sure.
And they did their work. So that's where the genesis of that was. It was not discussed in detail at the Animal Shelter Board. It was discussed at the Bond Committee.
Well, here's what I get from this. We have a citizen who tried to do due diligence. He had heard through the grapevine that there's an animal shelter coming, and it's a big deal. He did his due diligence. He went out to our websites, and he tried to find information on it, and he couldn't. And all he's coming here and telling us that it's going to be a big deal. And in the past, when things like this came, the city itself and the school district did not do their due diligence in making sure that the citizens understood exactly what we were asking for, and it failed. He's been a very good citizen. He's come here, spent his own time to tell us, do better. So I take that very seriously.
So Mayor, good comments. Here's what I would recommend, pending your action calling an election. You'll recall our last bond election in '21 was successful. Staff's position in this bond election or any bond election is only to provide information. Mr. Meredith will provide a disclaimer at some point to sort of explain all that. What we anticipate is once the propositions have been decided by you, we would prepare an informational mailer, as we did in '21, that would go out to every household so that people are aware of the propositions. We created a dedicated website last time. I think it was Saginaw TX 21. We have one this time. We'll activate it. All the background documents, the studies and assessments, will make that kind of the central storehouse. So if people are interested, they can click and find, hey, why was this assessment done? Or in the case of the animal shelter, we've essentially had 2 reviews. We also would propose, and Pedro has a kind of a draft schedule, of doing town hall meetings by proposition. So we'll have one night, we'll discuss streets. Why are streets so freaking expensive? The average person probably wants to know.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's not just pavement, it's drainage, and as you know, we have very flat grade here, so making drainage work is difficult. We would do the same with the park improvements. I think that the Parks Board has already done some of the work and can provide information to people that are interested. Then we would do the same with the animal shelter at Town Hall. I think it'd also be helpful to have a site visit so that anybody that's not aware of the conditions can tour and kind of understand, hey, why are we even discussing this? So the point's well taken. I think we'll talk about it a little later, but we're getting our engagement to Pedro's credit and effort. He's doing a good job, which is difficult for me to acknowledge because, as you know, he's from Dallas, and I've just got a hang up with Dallas. So, but hey, the information's getting out there. Our communications folks, especially with video, are doing some really wonderful things. That will continue.
I think we did it with the library, a good architectural rendition of what this animal shelter would look like.
Agreed.
So people have an idea. Pictures worth 1,000 words.
I think you're right, and Mr. Differ's point, where's it going to be? Yeah, that'd be, we know the parcel, general parcel. We need to be able to show people, here's where, and, approximately what it would look like, square footage, that sort of thing.
Okay, excellent. Continuing with our discussion, we had Valerie said her number. I will say mine, I'm happy with 15. I think that's a sweet spot. I think any more than that is just, it's a huge number. It really is. I think 15 can work, and as you mentioned, as Dan brought up, we will have to do some work selling this and getting the information out there. We've got, fortunately, it's not till May, we've got time, but we will need to work very hard to get all the information out there so folks completely understand what they're voting on. Brad, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yes, before we mention our dollar amounts, I would like to know if anybody else in the audience wanted to speak, and I do have that email that I wanted to read
yes.
out.
Okay.
So I don't think we should make a decision until we hear from everybody.
I only had one request to
Only
speak,
had
one
one?
card from Dan, so that was nobody else.
There's only one.
Okay, so,
Do you want to read that one
Yeah.
from, please? This was a gentleman that emailed us, I guess, earlier today, and could not
yes.
attend this meeting.
we got this email, the whole city council and our city manager this morning, and I asked the individual if he minded if I would read this out in the meeting, and he gave me his permission and to mention his name also. So I think it's important to have this in the public record. So I don't know if everybody on the council had a chance to read that either. Dear Mayor and City Council, I'm going to put on my glasses, my reading glasses. This email is a simple request. I was at the last city council meeting, but cannot attend tonight's due to work schedule. I have previously gone through the animal shelter estimates and was happy to see that they generally agreed with each other's estimates. As an engineer, I tend to agree with the opinions of professionals who have built similar facilities before. In my line of business, many decisions are based on previous projects. It's a very good way to estimate future projects. I think our city can experience lightning striking twice. My kids grew up in the old library, and we loved it. But admittedly, the new library has been awesome. It is designed to fit the next 50 years of Saginaw or more. The parking lot is always busy, which is a testament to its value to the community. The new library is already a landmark here. A new animal shelter will do the same. Let's cry once about the price, not twice. As was said at the last meeting, there is a contingent of people who will always vote against every bond, regardless of how beneficial it is to Saginaw. Please don't cater to them. We are blessed with a great animal shelter staff and volunteers who have been able to do amazing things with an absolutely jam-packed small shelter. Imagine what they could do with a modern, expanded facility, one with all the amenities that will keep up with Saginaw for the next 50 years. There are a lot more animal lovers in Saginaw than bond haters. One of my favorite sayings is that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Let's build a mighty oak of an animal shelter, not a Bradford pear tree that looks nice for the first few years, but then falls down 5 years later and crushes our car. At a minimum, please secure the large land swap for the shelter. Get that hurdle out of the way. Then do your best to build the best and biggest animal shelter we can. Kind regards, John Dries. And he has a P.S. note. This is kind of funny. I wrote this morning without AI before I drank my coffee. Imagine how much better it could have been with coffee. Ha ha. So I just thought it was important to get that point of view out there before we mention our figures.
Thank you, Mary. Brack?
I'm definitely a numbers guy, so in lieu of giving you my exact dollar figure, I'm willing to go with the 15 million.
Okay, thanks, sir. John?
So I think before I've stated on the record that I think somewhere between that 12 and 15 is where we need to be. You know, Mr. Didforth and I, we've kind of done our research on our own, and I think I'm still sticking with my 12 number.
Yep. Mary?
Before I give my number, I don't know how many of you knew my number last week was 20 million, and that is based on building a facility that does meet all of the requirements that will be at least a 30 to 40-year building. But I have some comments to make, hopefully to sway some of my fellow members here. One, I want to thank Nick for his idea about the storage barn. I think that's excellent. That will reduce the square footage, which will reduce the cost, which would allow me to come down off of my $20 million figure. I think it's important that we all have an attitude of compromise, making concessions, negotiating, and I'm prepared to do that. I think that barn idea is great. There will still be plenty of storage room in the actual facility for short-term needs, so the staff would not need to run out there every 5 minutes and get supplies, get items. So I don't think it would interrupt the workflow. It would succeed in making the square footage less, therefore making the cost less. I don't like option 3 because you have to get rid of too many dog kennels. I think that's a mistake. I also did have a unique idea that I have not spoken to any of the council members about, but I would like for them to think about this. We could have a multi-purpose break room slash training room. You could have one room that would solve both functions, and you could have video equipment in there, and whenever there was training needed, that break room could be used for the training. So we wouldn't have to have 2 rooms. We wouldn't have to have a training room and a break room. We could combine them, also using less space and lowering that cost. So in my calculations that are not a mathematician, I feel like with the barn, with the multi-purpose break room, training room, and not getting rid of so many of the dog kennels and making it a 30 to 40-year building, I think 17 to 18 million would get that done. So that would be, you know, I would like us to think about those ideas and maybe come up a little bit from the 15. That seems to be the consensus. If we could come up a little bit from that, I would be happy.
Thank you, Mary. One, I wanted to, and I just noticed he was here, the chair of the animal board is here. Would you like to speak, Joe? Would you want to? You don't have to, but if I want to give you the opportunity since you are intimately involved in this project.
Thank you. I have spoken several times, so I had not really put myself on the list tonight, but I had reached out to you all individually and sent you a note and with what my feelings were about it, and you know, in the spirit of compromise, I'd recommend to everybody that, you know, and I know this is a little disappointment, but I think 15 million is a good number. That was my feeling. If the city council would consider adding, you know, a little bit more, I think Mary made some really excellent points about it. I did also want to talk a little bit about what our involvement has been in it. Yeah, it's true, it hasn't been on a lot of agendas for us because we were waiting for the consultants to do plans. But you know, the very start of this, I think was 3 years ago, there was a shelter workshop with the first design consultant who really picked everybody's brain. You know, the shelter staff was there and talked about what the needs were and what the requirements were. She educated us a whole lot about what you need in a modern animal shelter, ventilation being one of the big things. And we've talked about all this, and you all know this. But obviously, we you know, I could tell, I want to say that I appreciate the comments from Mr. Ditford tonight. That was very helpful, because it makes you realize that we think we know all these things, but a lot of people in the public don't, you know, and even though there have been occasions when they've been available. So if this item passes tonight, we really do have an important task to make sure that people are informed about, you know, why it costs what it costs and why it needs to last 50 years and why it's important. So with all that said, I'm looking to you all, and I hope you all will pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. So I had no other cards or people that want to speak on this, but I will open it up to quickly, if anybody else wishes to speak, this is the time.
So I would like to say one thing is, if this passes, I think it will, we absolutely we got to do good. We got to have websites with accurate, up-to-date data. Okay, no broken links. The new hire shelter chart I looked at for data, boy, it should be a good one to turn loose on that. Just hint. Got to make these numbers match. 10,000 square feet, dollar amount. We got to make it to where there can't be nobody can poke holes in it. Okay, so that's it. I think that we need to have multiple garage gaps, and I used to call them gate gaps. But, and have on there, and have the three, and explain in detail. I mean, we need to literally, in great detail, go out of our way to explain to them exactly why they need to, we're bringing this before them for a yes or no. So that they can make, it isn't convincing them that they need to vote for it or against it, it's giving them the information so they can make an unbiased decision if that's what they want for the city. That's the way I look at it. And by not giving them good, accurate information and having all these meetings, then we're just not doing our job. So that's the only one thing I want to say is, if this passes, then we need to hit a home run.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you one more time, Saginaw people are visual.
Yeah,
I've told you that a long time, so you might as well show it to them.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so listen.
That's what Paul was saying.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so consensus from council, I'm going to, with my very back of the envelope math, is about 15 from all the council members' input.
Yep.
Can everybody live with 15? Because, and this was stated before our previous 21 election, and very wisely by councilman, that if there's any councilman that is pushing against this, it will not pass. So we need to be all, have a number we can back. Can everybody back $15 million for an animal shelter? I'm going to assume silence is consent, unless you have huge issues, speak up. So I'm going to write down 15. I hadn't written the number down, so I'm writing 15. So that means Prop A is streets, 38 million. Prop B is park, 6 million. Prop C is animal shelter, 15 million. A total, I believe, of $59 million.
So let me ask this one. Is there any council member that would like to make a motion or propose a different number other than that 15 to see if it gets up or down vote?
Mary?
I like the, the street and the parks number, but I would hope we could go with 16.5 for the animal shelter.
Would you like to make a motion? You can make a motion.
Should I do it for the entire three?
No, just
the animal?
yes, please, just do animal shelter.
Okay.
Let's do one.
I move that the council adopt an ordinance calling a bond election to be
No,
held.
you don't have to read the whole thing,
okay.
just say what the animal shelter.
I'd like to make a motion
Yeah.
concerning the animal shelter, that the price that we put on the animal shelter for the bond election would be $16,500,000.
Do I have a second for that motion? All right, motion.
Second it, so
Nick
it
second?
gets a vote.
Okay. Nick seconds, please cast your votes. All right, that motion failed. So I'm back to 15. I think 15 is what everybody can get behind. Kim, is my math correct? Is that 59 million for the entire 38, 6, and 15?
I didn't add it up, Mayor, but the motion should be the amount for
Each one?
proposition.
Oh, I know. I
Yes.
understand. I just want to give a total number out there for everybody to wrap their brain around, because it's a big number. So this would be for the May election, May 2nd election. Prop A would be streets for 38 million. Prop B would be parks for 6 million. Prop C would be animal shelter for 15 million. All the details would be put in by 59. Thank you for correcting my math. So it is 59 million total. The details would be written up by bond counsel with those specific details we provide to them.
Mayor, can I ask for the bond counsel, because I'll be
Yes,
talking with them.
yes, Mark, please approach and speak and introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm Mark McClany with Samco Capital Markets. I'm the city's financial advisor. We'll be working with bond counsel to make sure this is done exactly the way you want. We have Jack McClany also with Samco Capital Markets. So right now, Proposition A is $38 million for street improvements with priority given to McElroy Boulevard and Industrial Avenue.
Yes, sir.
We're set at, that's good. Streets, the parks is 6 million, and it's not specific to any specific park. It is $6 million for issuance bonds in the amount of $6 million for park recreation, open space improvements. Do you want it more specific than that? Naming parks?
Is that what we had last time? Was that the language we had in 21?
That was the language. It was open, that if there's money left, so if you said specific parks and there's money left over, it can't go to other parks.
Yeah, that's my concern, is how, I don't want to tie ourselves in too much of a bind. What can we do?
Well, when you're promoting it, I don't want to say promoting it, when you're doing information to the voters, that becomes a contract with the voters. So if you're going to say, we're doing Park A, B, and C, that's our plan, and if there's money left over, we'll do other projects, that's okay.
Okay.
This language gives you that ability.
Okay.
If all of a sudden a different priority comes up, you have the ability to make that change. If something happens at another park and there's money available, this language is open enough that stays with the parks. So I want to make sure, we can be more specific, but we don't want to be so specific that you lose your flexibility as council.
Yeah,
That was a primary concern of the Parks Board, that they wanted to make sure that the flexibility was given so that if there was a more important project, or if there were savings on some of these projects, that the money could then flow to handle other needs as well.
That's what we did in 21, so I like that language. Go ahead, Sean.
I have a question. So like on streets, how we said that we were going to prioritize McElroy and Industrial, can we say that we want to prioritize the 3 parks that were mentioned and then whatever's additional?
We can add it and be
4?
more
I'm sorry.
specific.
Yeah, the 4 parks, I'm sorry.
I think we leave it general, but in our information that gets disseminated to the public, we're very explicit and specific about what we're wanting to accomplish with it.
The other piece of this is, when we do have these public information meetings, there may be the public may come out with something that may be favorable that's not on this list if we were to have a specific list. So I think we need to keep it open the way it is.
So
I think the park board would be happy with that, right?
So here's the problem we got to be careful. Okay, if we pass it this way to give us maximum flexibility, then we go to the citizens and we say, we're going to fix Park A and Parks B and Park C. Me as a council member, that's a contractual agreement I just made with the citizens, regardless of what the law says or not. And anything other, if we put out there that we're going to fix Park A, Park B, Park C, you will not get me to support anything but Park A, Park B, Park C. So let's just be understood there that, if we don't want to put it in here, then we gotta be very careful that when we put our big slick sheets together, oh, we're gonna fix Park A and we're gonna fix Park B.
And I think
We
it's.
can't do a bait and switch.
I think it's important to mention that, like in the statement that the Parks Board issued, that we're prioritizing the improvements here, and the types of improvements are this.
And see, that's why I was mentioning about McElroy and industrial, because I know that we have shifted from McElroy west to east because of the necessary, it's necessary that we have to do that. But then if we do those, because we've already started the design on the phase that's closest to Business 287, so we can flex, and then if there's funding left over, we can use that then on the west side of McElroy. So I'm kind of envisioning the same thing with parks, where we could prioritize those 4, and that way, we're going to get those 4 done. But then we're also conscious that it's a pool of money that if we get all these done, now we can use the extra to do other things. And that's what we're doing with the other parks funding. So I don't think that that's something that would confuse residents, but I think it would be good to at least say, these ones the Parks Board has said are important, so let's prioritize them, but not say that that's all we can do.
Yeah, those are good comments. If you recall from the 21 bond election, the parks proposition was even more open-ended than what we're discussing tonight. It was $4 million to be prioritized by the Parks Board. So since that time, the Parks Board has said, here's our priority. Our communications, informational communications, would be what the Parks Board recommended, these priorities. But it does allow us the flexibility to change if things come up, which with the 21 Parks Bond, we've done. I mean, we added to the switch yard, pavilions, and restrooms, and thankfully have had savings, so.
Yeah, I'd like to keep the parks as open as possible, because we don't have dollar figures for the parks. We have a much more concrete dollar figures, no pun intended, for the streets. So, I'm not normally that funny, but no, I really like the, keeping the parks a little broader, like we did in 21. I think it worked in 21, and that gives us, again, this is our master plan. This is our Bible. That's what we're going off of. Tell people this is it. It will be stuff that's in here, 100%. Because like we said, we don't know the total dollars, and we could get savings, and we could be able to do more, or we could do less, depending on what happens, because things happen to parks. So I like the statement that Mark, will you read that again, Mark, what you said?
Well,
For parks.
it's issuance of bonds in the amount of $6 million for park, recreation, and open space improvements, and the levy of taxes to pay
Right.
for it.
Okay.
Councilmember Lawson, your comment about the slicks and all that does become a contract with the voters, not just your personally, it is citywide. If it's city and you're saying we're doing this A, B, and C, that does become a contract with the voters as well as this proposition. So your point of can't bait and switch, you really can't.
You agree with that, Brent?
I do.
Okay. You're good with it, I am.
So I have a question. Would everybody feel more comfortable if we just referred to the parks plan? And say that it's
As guided by the parks plan or
Right,
something like
yeah.
that?
I mean, 'cause that way it's vague enough that anything that's in that plan we could do.
As long as they prioritize.
What do you think?
what the board wants.
Does that work, Brack? What do you think? You're closer to the parks than we are.
The priority list very closely agrees with the plan, but it's not exact. Sagewood was a lot further down on the priority list,
But
according to the plan. It's in the plan.
Yeah, I think priorities are different. I think just as long as it's in here.
So the Parks Board has moved Sagewood up on the priority list significantly.
So maybe we don't say priority, but we just say referring to.
With guidance by?
With
something like that?
guidance
Guided
from
by.
the plan.
There we go.
Because we didn't have this in 21, so.
Correct.
I think referencing that is a great idea. I do.
Well, we had it.
How can we mark that in?
I'm going to ask bond counsel on that.
Okay.
So if they struggle with that, state legislature, as you all know, over the last few years, keeps getting more strict and strict.
Sure.
If they struggle being able to put that in, I would just suggest that then becomes part of your
Our
material
presentation.
to the
Okay.
voters. We're following the parks master plan. I will ask them specifically first thing tomorrow if we can put in, somewhere in there that this is based on the guidance of the park master plan.
Okay. I think that'd be great. Thank you, Mark.
And if not, then we'll just go with it.
Right.
Okay.
You know, we're stuck in the window where we have to call that election.
Right.
So we don't want to, you know, miss this. You will, if you approve it, subject to, you know, we'll get bond counsel and Brent sign off, and we'll be good.
All right, so have you mentioned Prop C yet?
Yes, issuance of bonds in the amount of $15 million for an animal control facility, and the levy of taxes sufficient. And just so everybody knows, the state law specifically says, no matter what, beginning of each proposition, it says, this is a tax increase.
Understand.
It has to be in there. You know, in this case, each one is on top of your existing taxes. There's some places that it's not a tax increase because something's going away, and we still have to say it.
Sure, understand.
And are you gonna be able to put down pretty much what that tax increase is gonna be for the citizens?
I think you have to do.
I
I'm
know,
sorry?
I'm just making sure.
What the
total
impact
cost
will be,
put down
yes.
So the citizens know.
It has to be, it'll be in the full ordinance, and then it's in the information that's all.
Because then they can't say, well, I didn't know it was gonna
Right.
cost that much, you know,
Right.
so, yeah.
And there was a chart that we put on the website last time, too.
Mm-hmm.
I just
It's
wanna
all
make
an estimate, of course. It's based on estimates, but we can do that.
I gotcha.
Any other questions for Mark?
So then, when we vote today on if someone makes a motion and we end up voting on that, is the language specific? Are we voting on language later, or how does that?
Well, I believe it did,
Bond counsel
Yeah,
sent
gave you specific
the
language.
language, which I
Okay.
sent all of you. So we're going to operate under the language that bond counsel sent. If there's minor changes, Mark will confirm. But
Okay.
that's, yeah, they've reviewed and,
So we can move forward tonight, because I don't want to kick the animal shelter down the road.
no, we're taking action.
Yeah, we have to get on,
Wanna
to
make
call the
sure.
election, we have to do it
I
tonight.
want to
yeah.
make sure. Okay,
And then it's up to the residents.
right.
Well, it's up to us to get the information out, and then they vote.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
That's up to
And
them.
let everybody be clear, just because city council approved this, it doesn't go anywhere until the voters say yes or no. They have the final say, and we will abide by whatever they come by with. All right, so I have written down here a sheet that's been provided to me, and then I wrote on what a motion might look like if anyone is so inclined to make said motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Here.
Here you go, Paul.
That's kind of what my notes are. I'll read it off. I move that the council adopt an ordinance calling a bond election to be held on May 2nd, 2026. Proposition A, streets, $38 million. Proposition B, parks, $6 million. And Proposition C, animal shelter, $15 million.
Do I have a second? Nick, second? Please cast your votes.
Give me a sheet.
Motion passes. Let's get on it. We got work to do.
He said didn't have your work back.
All right, thank you, folks. I appreciate, there's been a lot of work to get this far, and I appreciate the folks that have done that, and all the staff, so thank you much.
Mayor.
We have work to do, but thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I apologize. Before we move on to the next item, with your permission, Gabe wanted me to just sort of touch on the rules, now that we have actual bond measures.
Sure.
Just the rules
Please.
regarding advocacy and political advertising, because I know there's a lot of confusion about that, but I'm on council, so I'm not allowed to ever say anything encouraging people to support something.
Okay.
So the prohibition under state law involves the use of public funds for advocacy. So that's why all the material that the city officially puts out, must be factual and contain no encouraging advocacy one way or the other. The Attorney General's put out just a one-page pamphlet, if you're curious, but they give you some examples of what's impermissible. It pays to invest in the future. It's time to move ahead. Let's build a better city, or show that you care about the future. If that shows up in any printed materials with taxpayer dollars, it's a Class A criminal offense, arrestable offense, and you can get turned into the Texas Ethics Commission. Nan and I had to go down to Austin. It was a civil service election, and someone turned her in for the material, the factual material sheet. And Mayor, you may have been on council at the time. I don't know if you recall. Yeah, so we had to go down to Austin, and I had to sit with her for an hour-long hearing in front of the full 12-member panel of the Texas Ethics Commission. And they have the ability to fine you personally tens of thousands of dollars And we advised her that if she received an actual civil penalty, that she probably could not have it paid for with taxpayer funds, that she would have to pay for it out of her own pocket. So it is rather serious. So I just want to drive that home. When you think of taxpayer funds, it's not just we spent money. It's the city's resources. It's being at City Hall with the electricity on, and then people come up to the podium and you say, we have your support, right, for this? This is good for the city. That's all a criminal offense as well. So at public meetings, public business, flyers, emails, information on the website, that the information needs to be factual only. Now, the other side of that coin is you all don't give up your First Amendment rights when you're not at City Hall. So you can walk door to door to your neighbors and say, I would really like for you to support this. No public funds are being used for that, okay? You can get scenarios where the lines can be blurred. So Councilmember Lawson mentioned the garage gabs, and I think that's a great idea. I don't know whether Gabe is there for Nikki's barbecue or whether he's there because he feels compelled to be there as an employee. Remember, he's not paid by the hour. So if there's an expectation that Gabe be at these garage gabs, I would suggest he not get involved in cheerleading for these bond measures. Okay, that's something that you all can do outside of a meeting, and you can knock yourselves out. That's totally fine. So that's really just the nutshell of it. If you have any questions during this period, let me know.
You got any questions for Bryn right now?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
So if there was a garage gab at Fire Station 2, since that's city property.
City property.
We can just state facts.
That's correct. Correct.
But if there's a garage gab in my cul-de-sac.
Your neighborhood. Yeah.
In my neighborhood.
Correct.
I
You can say whatever you
pop on
want.
that baby all I want.
That's right.
So-
That's right.
Well put, well put. Okay.
Yep.
Mayor, Council.
Small but important difference.
No, thank you.
Just one thing I'd like to add, our bond counsel, McCall, Parker, I think it's Horton, MPH, legal firms, you gotta have at least 3 last names, right? Or in Tosa's case, 5. So anyway, Rose is the person Kim and I have coordinated with. They have recommended and will follow their recommendation to send all of our informational materials, that is informational flyers that'll go out to residents, any videos that are informational in nature to review, so that there's a extra set of review for staff to say, yes, that's not advocacy, that's not promotion, that's fact. So that's going to be our intention. Pedro's got a draft schedule for some town halls, and we'll just be very safe and follow the rules.
Sure. Thank you, Bryn.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah, and you may be disappointed at the messaging, candidly. It's nothing exciting or juicy about it. You know, we need this for our streets, criminal offense, right? We can do better for our parks, we bring you all these fun amenities, criminal violation. So the way you get measures passed, in my experience, doing this for 26 years, is community engagement by members of council outside of City Hall.
Thank you, Bryn. So we will have an election May 2nd, 2026. Look forward to it. Moving forward, 4B, consideration action regarding a full-time position for the library and communication department. Gabriel, City Manager.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I had a couple quick questions from a council member, just to clarify. So requesting City Council approval of a currently budgeted part-time communications specialist who does our video. You've all probably met him. His name is Kevin. In light of our preparing for bond elections and the, I don't know what we call it, the enormous appetite that people have for videos, I think it makes good practical sense to make him full-time on a temporary basis, kind of like we've done with positions in the past. We would keep him indefinitely so long as we have the financial capacity to do so. The other position would be a part-time library assistant. Ellen went to the library board. We have an increase in library donations that can cover this part-time library assistant. My understanding that we didn't have maybe a part-timer that could go full-time, is that correct at this moment? It's the biggest need. You're all aware As far as the library and senior center, I mean, it's the Field of Dreams phenomenon. It's busy every day. Y'all have received probably the same compliments that I have. It's an amazing facility. People are loving it. So that's the long and the short. Pedro might be able to answer some specific questions, but
Well, I'm going to ask a question or sort of make a statement on the library, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm going to assume that since we have a fantastic new library, we're getting a lot more donations. That's what I'm hoping is the answer. That's what we can afford this because we get more donations. It's such a fantastic library that we're showcasing, and people are excited.
yeah, so the council, through the budget process, you'll recall, increased donations for all of the three areas. So there is a dollar increase in donations, and yeah, the patron numbers, everything is up.
All right, so-
The library committee did approve it. They're for it.
They did. Council questions?
No, but I have a statement to make, because you confuse me a lot, okay? So let me finish and then you can talk, okay?
Sure.
On the agenda discussion tonight, on January the 15th in your email concerning staffing updates, you indicated that Chris Dyer would be replacing Larry Little, a change that we already accounted for in the budget. And then you stated that Diska, who had been assisting Vicky, would transition to a full-time role supporting economic development. And then, on January the 16th, you extended congratulations both to Chris and Diska, I can't say her name right, noting that she is now serving
It's
as...
Diksha. It's real simple. Diksha, maybe repeat.
Well, she's now serving as a general support specialist for the city secretary and economic development department. However, I'm unaware of a designated position for a general support specialist, but I know that you make positions available, and any correspondence with salary details in your attachment. And then the description that you had on here, you already said, the attachments pertains to a full-time digital communication specialist and a part-time role in the library. You also recommended approving a full-time position for both the library and the communications on here. And so there's no indication of financial impact that would be on our budget, once again. And part of communications department, you know I'm going to say this, so, should include residents being able to call for help through the city phone system. And when they prompted to dial 0, they should get a live person to help answer their questions instead of returning back and forth to the recorded message. I've asked you several times in the last year and a half. There have never been any change to this problem. I still get complaints about it. Everyone in the city doesn't have a computer. A lot of seniors don't have a computer. A lot of people go to the library to use a computer. So not being able to talk to somebody when they call and need help is kind of like discriminating against seniors and those who choose not to have a computer. And I know some folks that live in our city that don't even have TVs in their house. And so some of them don't want a computer. So
Right
I just
next to you.
need, I would like some clarification on how many more additional positions are anticipated before we have a sufficient staffing level rather than supporting some of our existing departments.
It's very simple. So on your way home, you're in luck tonight, Councilmember Junkersfeld. Maybe you'll consider buying a lottery ticket. So you'll recall the council approved through the budget process an update to our phone system.
Right.
We are waiting on the vendor for that phone system. I believe that contact was provided by Councilmember St. Clair. Spoke with Greg today. They're waiting to start that project and that transition. When that
When
happens,
they push 0, they will be able to get some kind of help?
yeah, I think we can send 0 to, whoever's available. We have a phone tree now that has like 7 options and people get impatient. But if you press 1, you're going to talk to utility or something. So that'll be fixed. We're waiting on the supplier to address that.
Okay.
I informed the council when there's staffing changes, after consulting with the city attorney. The position mentioned earlier, the general support position, was within our existing budget. Now, we will catch that up. There's always additions and subtractions throughout the year, but the council, I cannot exceed the bottom line, right? If we go over, then I need council approval. So a couple departments told me that they needed some help, and I'm happy to oblige. And the person we put in that position has done a remarkable job. I think she's going to
I'm
present.
not saying nobody's.
No,
gonna
I
do the job,
understand. Yeah.
I just,
This is how
sometimes
I've.
it'd be nice to have a financial dollar there and what it's going to affect the budget.
Sure, yeah. It's within the existing budget. Yeah,
Okay.
does that make sense? So these new positions, which is a little confusing, I get it, I do this for a living. Sometimes I dream about it. Most of the time I dream about other things I'm interested, stocks or that.
Too much information, Gabe.
That's right. When we add to that, okay, I come to you, the council, and say, here, I would like to increase. So we have an existing person, his name is Kevin, he's part-time. What I'm saying to you is, let's make him full-time.
Right.
And that difference, we will catch up as we have financial capacity.
Right.
The library position is part-time. The library board has identified funds to pay for that. It has no general fund impact.
Okay.
Is there anything I can clarify for you? Does that address everything?
Well, yeah, it's just down here in your agenda, on your agenda, down here, it says recommendation. Staff recommends approval of a full-time position for the library and communications department.
Oh, so a typo. I'll accept
Okay.
full amount of shame for that. There's
Well,
a good
I'm just
chance.
saying,
Yeah,
it's
there's a
kinda
good chance my
confusing when You're
mother's.
trying to study and it says part-time, but then you want a full-time
Sure, so
position.
let me clarify. We're talking a full-time, Pedro, remind me of the position. What are we calling it? Communications?
Digital communications specialist.
Digital communication specialist. I'm a pretty simple guy. That's the video guy, okay? Full-time, currently part-time, will become full-time.
Right.
And then a part-time library assistant funded by donations.
Okay.
Is there anything?
To become full-time, right?
This is part-time. I think at some point in the future, we would have that discussion.
It's just part-time, it's from 0 to part-time. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other
With donations.
questions? Happy to.
The full-time position, though, is considered temporary.
Correct.
Until we can cover it.
Correct. Everything, right. Similar to situations the city council has added in the past regarding kind of positions that meet a critical need. If you remember our facilities manager, we noted as a temporary position until our financial capacity can meet, so.
Yeah, I think there's a animal shelter. Isn't there a part-time animal shelter one that's like that, or it was? and we-
Yeah, I think we did
Yeah.
a part-time temporary, and then as our capacity, we catch it up. So we are, you might recall our last council meeting, we are drawing down our fund balance for one-time projects, the largest of which is next door. The renovation for the Keeter building will begin, I think, maybe later this month or next month. We are still above by a few $100,000 our policy requirements and fund balance, but as you're aware, you know, when these needs come up, that's going to be less and less, and because of the limitations from the state, there's going to be more pressure for ongoing revenues. But again, I think it, and a lot of this, I don't kind of bring this to you unnecessarily, but y'all have told me how much people appreciate the video, and there's a lot of people that don't or won't or can't, whatever the right word is, read. But I'm telling you, these videos are wildly popular. I think we had one of Officer Pappenthien a couple days ago sliding that had, was it 70,000 views?
Yeah.
71,000.
71. It's insane.
Yeah.
So I say that because that's a need that we need to address. I think related to our bond discussions, if that's the way people choose to get their information, digest their information, we need to provide it, so.
All right, great. Go ahead, Chair Valerie.
Well, I just wondered about the financial part and the budget and everything, and because I know fire needs a person, PD needs a person, rec needs a person, you know what I mean, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That vacancy you had mentioned related to shuffling with Larry retiring, Chris being promoted, we have a net position that'll slide over to the fire department. That has not been filled, but that's within the existing budget. So these we're talking about are additions.
Okay. I just want to make sure the departments that need help get some before we make different positions available.
Yeah, it's fair.
I have one.
Sean, go ahead.
Yeah. So the, sorry, Nick, the digital communications specialist, are they going to be doing anything with the website?
So usually the communications department as a whole helps out with the website. It's funny you bring that up. We're actually in the process of auditing that this month.
Right.
Because at the end of this year, we will be doing a refresh for our contract with the website provider. But yeah, both Lena and Kevin will be handling the website.
Okay, I just wanted to check on that, because, yeah, as much as help as we can get on the website's kind of.
Yeah, a lot had to do with
everywhere
when
and-
we transitioned over from Civic Plus over to Revise. A lot of the Civic Plus stuff remained. And
Yeah, like I
at the
tried
time,
to
I was
look
only
at
by
some,
myself, so.
I tried to look at some older council meetings, and it was like from 2023 or 2022 back, you can't find, it's all not there. So you have to like Google, and then you can find them. They're somewhere categorized somewhere, but it's not on our website. It doesn't link directly to. So that's why I'm, there's that, and then like the animal shelter's here, and this is here, and the library. So it's all kind of split into different domains.
Yeah, some of that, the meeting I know was when we changed our agenda software. Was that the change?
Correct. That was around 2023.
Like
when we
20,
changed
yeah,
the
and I know
software.
exactly what you're talking about with the animal shelter. It looks like a older version, but that's because their, what is their Shelter Pro software, it jives with that. So it's not uniform, but a lot of it, there's different component units, so.
Right. Yeah. So I just was curious if they were gonna have anything to do with that, but if they're part of the communications department, then they'll have some input, so.
Yeah, and the big thing is the DOJ is requiring the ADA compliance to be done, and the city our size, we actually have to be in compliant by 2027. So that's our big push this year. We're gonna watch actually the bigger cities, our bigger brothers and sisters, they have to be in compliance by April. So yeah, that new position will be helping out with that transition over.
All right, any other questions, council? If not, I'll entertain a motion for 4B.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve item 4B for a full-time communications department person and a part-time library person.
Nick, second. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Excellent. Thanks, folks. Thankfully, we do not have any executive session, right?
No.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, make a motion, we adjourn.
Valerie, Brack, second.
We practice that just to
That's-
be crazy, just so you know.
People are always in a hurry to make that one.
2 hours shorter than last week.
All right, so motion passed. So at 8:06, we're adjourned. Thank y'all.